President Trump ordering federal agencies to submit plans for job slashing and other cost cutting. Elon Musk was at today's cabinet meeting. So was ABC's Mary Alice Parks.
Some of those cabinet secretaries worried about national security implications. They worried that they're the ones that should get to decide if someone's job is essential or not at their own agencies.
Under the ceasefire swap, an Israeli security official says 4 bodies have been transferred to the Red Cross from Hamas. And Red Cross buses with hundreds of Palestinian prisoners have left an Israeli prison. Gossip Girl actress Michelle Trachtenberg was found dead today in her New York City apartment, say police sources to ABC News. 39 recently had a liver transplant. This is ABC News. Sounds like the 1880s Old West, but no.
In less than a year, investigators have looked into nearly a dozen train heists in the California and Arizona deserts in which suspects cut air brake hoses, causing the trains to stop, and then multiple people board, stealing mainly Nike sneakers being shipped east. Court documents show a number of arrests have been made, but the burglaries, as they're categorized, are continuing and are often carried out by Mexican citizens linked to the Sinaloa drug cartel. Often trucks are waiting to drive away with cases full of Nikes to be sold on sites like eBay. Alex Stone, ABC News.
A man from Montana has been sentenced to 4 years of probation for threatening to assault former House Speaker Kevin McCarthy after becoming upset with the government for not shooting down a Chinese spy balloon that floated over the defendant's home city. A mixed day for the Wall Street major indexes. Chuck Severson, ABC News.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives, a political discussion group about current events and other government-related matters every Wednesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Right here on WSMN 1590 AM, WSMN 95.3 FM, and streaming live on wsmn.live. Making sense of the inverted reality we are subject to every day, the Common Sense Conservatives are here to help bring you back to reality. Now, your hosts, Chris Wyatt, Todd McKinley, and John Grothman.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Common Sense Conservatives. Right here, WSMN. It's Wednesday night. You know what that means. 2 hours of fun. 7 to 9 right here. Chris Wyatt is going to be a little bit late tonight. He's got very, very important business to take care of. I wonder if it has something to do with him getting a position as the ambassador to South Africa. What do you think there, Todd?
I don't think that's quite it. Can you hear me? How do I sound tonight? Sound pretty good?
Yeah, I think so. I think you sound good.
Okay, good. Well, I'm just judging the microphone setup here, so that way I can get the distance. And I know you've had issues with the board, in the past, because Colonel talks loud. I don't talk quite as loud. I don't yell as much as he does, I don't think. But no, I don't think he's going to become ambassador to South Africa. But how cool would that be if he got some sort of nod like that? I'm seeing a lot of people that I know over the past few days and past month get position after position, in the administration, some senior positions, in fact. And I got a note yesterday that a friend of mine apparently she's the acting protocol for the United States. So she's technically an ambassadorial rank. So hopefully that'd be nice if she gets confirmed to that position. We'll see how that pans out. But seeing all the different people that I've known for years move up into, senior level now in the administration is kind of neat. I filled out some paperwork yesterday to do some work with the Office of Vice President, and at the same time with the White House office, if you will, doing advanced work. We'll see how that plays out. Of course, I can't use that here on social media or on our show, if you will. I can't sit there and talk about inside baseball and stuff, but it will be kind of interesting to see the changes from the last administration to now. If I get a chance to go out and do some work, if you will. But yeah, some people are here on our chat are advocating for Colonel Chris White to become ambassador to South Africa. So if somebody in the administration is listening that can make that happen, well, we'd love to see that happen.
Yeah. I don't know how he's going to do this show and be ambassador to South Africa. I don't know. He might have to turn down the position as ambassadorship because he can't give up Common Sense Conservatives. That'd just be unheard of.
No, I mean, he cannot. This one day a week show that we do, you know.
I know a position of lifetime, but hey, you know what? Sacrifice you have to make to do a radio show.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. Even if it's one day a week, you know. And of course, all the other shows that he does, his own personal shows. Of course, I've given up doing any social media or podcasting, if you will, over the past few years. But I've, you know, got involved in other things, if you will. So I had some ideas of, you know, growing my podcast, and of course, I got it to a certain point. Then I decided, you know, I'm going to get out of it because I was just doing more or less interviews with people who are running for public office or people who are in public office, you know, not really getting in depth with stuff. I was just more of a, you know, here's a person, you know, take a look at them. What do you think? You know, type interview. I wasn't getting in-depth interviews and giving my in-depth thoughts, if you will. So I kind of gave my podcast up a couple of years ago, but I'm glad to see he's making a go of it and rebuilding his following after YouTube kind of messed him over.
Yeah, it certainly did. He does have a good, strong following. I'll tell you what, man, he does. Well, he podcasts all day, every day, pretty much. He's active.
Right.
Very, very active man.
And that's what you got to do. And of course, you know, nowadays with everybody and their mom starting a podcast, especially people who are, you know, out of Hollywood trying to make that extra buck, if you will. You know, you think about this, you know, whenever they're not working, it's like how do they make money? It's like some of them go overseas and do ads and stuff like that. And now the thing is to get into some sort of podcast. And of course, you get any number of advertisers that reach out to you to hawk their products. And, you know, right in the middle of your podcast, you stop and you do your quick 3, 4, 5 minutes of hawking a product. You know, it's a genius way to stay relevant and make money. I think if you can get a following.
Well, that's key right there, is figuring out how to market yourself. I think I've seen some really, really good podcasters that just give it up because, you know, 5 years later, and they're not getting that following that they were expecting to get. And they're really good at what they do, but there's just so many people out there, so many shows and stuff. And but I think honestly, everything comes down to marketing. If you have no marketing skills, you're just not going to make it well.
Right. And just sitting in front of a camera, just talking, you know, and rambling on without, you know, somebody to say it to or to discuss whatever issue your podcast is about, you know, or to have that audience, you know, you can have great content and be the smartest guy in the room, in any room that you're in. But if you don't have any way to get the message out there, you know, nobody's ever going to hear of you, you know, and of course that's what it takes is marketing, being able to talk about yourself a little bit, sell yourself a little bit. And, you know, sometimes people just don't have that. They're very introverted and they just do not want to sell themselves or talk about themselves. So this is the type of work that's not conducive for people like that. And there's a lot of good people that have a lot to say that we would love to hear what they have to say, but they never want to market themselves or talk about themselves. So we never get that good information, you know, it's sad.
Being introverted and trying to do this stuff is very, very difficult. Take it from an introvert. I know.
Right.
You have to overcome it. It's very difficult to do, but you'd be surprised how many famous people in the past were true introverts.
Yeah.
But they did what they did and they still had to overcome it, speaking in front of crowds of people and stuff. I think Einstein was a true introvert.
Right. And there are some people that, you know, that are actors and actresses that are very introverted, that don't like being in rooms with crowds and talking to people. But, you know, you wouldn't know that from watching their movies. You would think that they're the most outgoing, you know, person that's very personable. And of course, they don't like, you know, kind of that interaction, if you will. They'd rather kind of be in a room on their own, you know, learning a line or playing a video game or something like that. They don't want to be out amongst the public, and not being rude. It's just the way some people are, you know what I mean? It's just the way that they operate. And I've heard some actors who, you know, who are so introverted or, you know, that they have to actually act as an extrovert to actually just be able to go talk to people normally. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
You know? It must be exhausting, you know?
That way became weird. I remember hearing Robert Duvall was one of those type of people. Didn't
Right.
get involved into Hollywood stuff and all the make believe over there. He did his job, did his acting,
Right.
flew in a plane back home to Virginia, lived his
Virginia, yep.
life, and then when he had another job to do or another gig or whatever,
Yeah.
then he'd fly out, do the gig, and come back home. He just didn't want to be bothered with all the limelight and the BS.
Right. And I hear that Billy Bob Thornton's kind of the same way. It's like he doesn't need to be in Hollywood at the parties and all that. He's like, if you need him for a role and he likes it, he'll show up and do the job, and that's it. I like people that way that are just going to get the job done. But at the same time, we do need people who can actually not only get the job done, but who can actually stand in front of people and actually explain what are the issues and what are going on. And of course, those people are few and far between, really. A lot of times the people that are explaining what the issues are people who are good at explaining things, but not necessarily understanding what they're explaining. You see it in Washington all the time. People who are hired to be the communications director or press secretaries or whatever. It's like they may sound good and know what they're talking or sound like they know what they're talking about, but they don't really understand it. You know what I mean? It's like, so I would rather have somebody who understands it that can also explain it. You know what I'm saying? Because think about Einstein said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it. But I love people who can get into the weeds and at the same time explain it in such a way that most everybody can grasp it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're being asked where a third amigo is on very important businesses. I guess it's top secret, highly classified business. He didn't say what. He just said he has a very important meeting.
Yep.
And we're just going to make presumptions that he's meeting with Donald Trump and shaking hands as we speak right now,
Yep.
and getting his nod
Yep.
for ambassador to South Africa, which
Yep.
would thrill a whole lot of South Africans, man.
This just in. We have no news. Yeah, there we go. No news.
We have no news. We're just going to make believe.
Yeah,
a
reporter on the scene at the White House is not reporting anything because we don't have a reporter at the White House. All right.
So, but the thing about politics is kind of funny because it seems to me it's a role reversal. I don't think you get too many introverts into politics. These guys are real showboats, constantly trying to promulgate themselves and grandstand and make sure everybody sees them. And you get people like AOC's a complete and total narcissist about it. I'm not saying she's a full-blown narcissist. I'm just saying she acts like she loves the attention. She loves to seek the attention and get it on herself, whereas... Yeah, but I can't think of a politician that doesn't like the limelight. They get right into it, and they love to show off. I think maybe there's a couple.
Right. Yeah, and I think at some lower levels there are people who don't really necessarily like the limelight, and want to just kind of do the job. They want to serve in let's say it's a school board, or a county commission or something like that. There are those people that at that level who just want to do the nuts and bolts work and get it done, who don't look for the reporter after, say the school board meeting to give a quote to, but, do the job. They're out the door and they're back home, ready for the next thing. You know what I'm saying? There are those people that are out there.
People like yourself that just got on the BOE, but you're not exactly running out there trying to beat everybody over the head with it.
Well, no, and I'm not trying to be in everybody's face every day about, oh, this is what I'm doing today. This is what, people that do that are lying to you, if you will. That's the way I look at it. If I'm putting something out on, say, social media, informing people that, hey, here's what I'm doing with regards to my veteran service organizations that I serve, or whether with regard to the school board, I'm not trying to do that every day and beat everybody up, but maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks, I put out something informative. I went to an event, I did this, this is what was discussed. I'll talk about those things, like Friday, I'll be in an event with my congresswoman, and I'll discuss a few things, and I'll formulate. It's probably an email to send out to my people that are within the veteran service community. What I discussed with regards to that. I'll also put out something maybe that I discuss politically or education wise, because I'm on the school board now. So I'll be discussing multiple things with her, and I'll have multiple, different, I guess, press releases, if you want to call it that, not necessarily press releases, but I'll put out 5 or 6 things to the public, to different audiences, if you will. And it may all be on my own social media feed. Pick a social media platform, Facebook as an example. I may have a post with regards to the BOE, may have one regards to the veteran service, but I'll never cross those streams, if you will. I never put, politics with my veteran service, because to me, that's something that should cross political lines, if you will. And I don't want to bring that into the partisan arena. But I'll talk about those things, but I'm not doing it to toot my own horn.
Absolutely. Speaking of people that would just don't really want the limelight. I'm thinking Jack Smith isn't going to want the limelight here in the near future.
I don't think so.
Did you see this executive order he signed?
Yeah, well, tell me what your thoughts are on that, because I figured you would like that one.
Well, I didn't exactly get to read the executive order itself. I was starting to look it up, but I didn't get to it. Too many distractions going on. But
you got the
what I
story.
got is here's Trump signed executive order, and basically they're going to investigate this law firm that it gave pro bono gave advisement to Jack Smith. And lo and behold, somebody's mentioned on that law firm, but not necessarily mentioned in the advisement to Jack Smith was Eric Holder.
Oh,
Former
yeah.
Attorney General to Barack Obama.
Yeah, interesting.
I thought that was interesting, but there was only one person mentioned. Peter Koski, I think, was mentioned in it.
Okay.
And so I think Trump is just like, and somebody said something about, well, are you going after these people? He goes, listen, don't tell me about going after people. I know what it means to be going after people because they went after me for 4 years. I understand what it means, what lawfare is, but we're investigating people. So he let her have it in that regard. But yeah, from what I got of it, I guess he's going to be investigating Jack Smith's procedures on investigating him as far as whether he did anything wrong or right. But the best part was he signed it. Signed the executive order. And I think somebody during the course of him signing this executive order, she tried to ask him a question. He says, "Excuse me, wait a minute. I just want to cherish this moment." It's not the word he used. He used another word for it, but he wanted to enjoy the flavor of the moment or something. And he finished signing it, and he held up the pen. He says, "Anybody want the pen? You want the pen? You want the pen? You know what? Give it to Jack Smith. He'll want the pen."
Right. Yeah.
It's funny the way he did it.
Oh, absolutely. If I was Jack Smith, if I could get the pen, I would get it, because the thing is, if you win, if you beat, let's say he beats Trump or whatever, nothing comes of it. Let's say he can file a lawsuit or whatever. He can market that pen, sell it for, like $1 million down the road or something. Somebody would buy it. There was a collector that would probably pay, 100,000, 500,000, $1 million down the road for that pen. If you had the provenance of that pen being the actual one he used.
See, if you were in that room, you could have capitalized off that moment. Sure, Mr. President, I'll take the pen, put in a little case, the container and stuff, and look at the liberal left and go, anybody, any takers? Auction it off.
Exactly. Take the picture with him, and that way you can prove that, hey, this is the actual pen. And that way, if you sell multiple pens, people are going to be like, wait a minute, which one was the real one, which one wasn't? But you could sell it, and heck, you could donate a chunk of money to charity or all the money. I'm sure somebody would pay a pretty penny.
Sell it to somebody in the liberal left that has millions and millions of dollars and get like a good, cool $2.5 million for the pen, and then turn around and donate it to the Republican Party.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, I'd donate it to like something like St. Jude's or something like that. You know what I'm saying? No, Shriners. Those commercials get me every time. It's like those are unfair commercials, by the way. They always put those cute little kids on there, and it's like, oh my God, how can you not donate money to these kids? I mean, come on.
That's like the Humane Society advertisements with the shivering, shaking dog, and you're looking at this, and they're singing the saddest song ever.
You're right there. Give them a blanket and some food. What are you doing? Don't just use your camera. Help the puppy.
Yeah, right. So they're giving them a blanket of food, all right. They're getting your wallet to do it, and I'll tell you what, they're plucking at the heartstrings.
I know, but stuff like that. I don't have a problem with charities like that if they're doing the right thing, and I think certainly St. Jude's, Shriners, and some other groups that help animals. I think they probably are doing the right thing, but you should watch, where the money actually goes line by line. And there's places where you can actually go and look at, say, the rating of a charity, the health rating, whatever you want to call it, that will tell you how much money that comes in for every dollar, or what percentage goes to fund the actual mission of the organization, or how much goes to pay for staff, or overhead, stuff like that. So you can get a good idea how much money that you give is actually going to actually support the main goal of that organization. And I love that the organizations that are spending a high percentage of my donation to actually do the work of the organization, whatever it may be. That's what I look for.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been some of them. I don't want to name names because I don't have the details in front of me, but I remember there's some of them people have investigated and come back and says, listen, about 10 cents on every dollar actually goes towards its purpose, and they're pocketing the other, it goes towards administrative, but people are paying themselves outrageous salaries out of it and stuff like that. You got somebody there demanding your attention there, Todd.
No, no, no. I'm just adjusting my my.
Oh, maybe I thought maybe I was blowing your drums out.
No, no, no. I was just making sure I wasn't hearing somebody outside of the door tapping, trying to get in.
Yeah,
So
you have a ghost.
yeah,
I
no,
had a crowd of people down below me here talking a while ago. I was wondering if you
yeah.
guys were hearing that.
No, 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 no. I didn't get that. But I know my microphone picks up every little a little thing in my house. It'll be like the phone rings, beep, 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 and it's like, oh, I didn't unplug the phone. So I have to mute everything for a few seconds for it to, for the caller to hang up or leave a message. So, but somebody rings the doorbell. That's another thing. I generally people that show up to the house that around this time know, like, hey, call me beforehand, text me beforehand. I'll leave the door unlocked or wait for the break before you text me or call me. That way I can open the door, whenever I get up from the break. So that way I don't get a ding, 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 ding. It's like, come on now, I'm live.
We got to get you one of those. Like I got a red light behind me. It indicates I'm on the air, but outside
Yeah.
the door to the studio, to the outside door in the hallway, there's an on-air sign. So whenever I hit that button, it comes on. So anybody approaching the studio knows that we're live here in the studio.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And it gives them the opportunity so they don't come in and make a bunch of noise and disturb you.
Of course.
But there's plenty of room in here. They can move around and do what they want to do. We got to get you one of those lights, Todd. You can just push a button and it lets people know outside your house that, hey, I'm on the show right now.
Well, yeah, that people, of course, people may think, why is it a red light? Is he open for business or something? You never know.
Yeah, right.
Especially those people who've been to Europe and know what that means, or a red light district. Back before the U.S. had regulation, you had red light districts even in the U.S. Right?
Mhm.
People know what that is. It's yeah.
Todd, I'm surprised though. Did you learn this in your travels while you were in the White
no.
House? Or
No, come on. Now, I was in the Army for 20 years. I served in Europe, for crying out loud, right? You know what the red light district is. And
yeah, we all know the red light district.
You get the safety briefings and don't go to the red light district. If you do, you use protection. And we're not talking about taking a semi-automatic weapon with you. They're talking about using proper protection as an adult. If you're going to participate in something like that, I think everybody should. If you're going to do something like that, be careful. There's nothing wrong with saying something like that. But you get some of the old pearl clutchers that are like, I can't believe he's talking about using safe sex practice. He shouldn't be even talking about that. It's like that we should be talking about it, because that's how you stop the spread of diseases. Hey, here you go. Use protection if you're going to do it. There you go. And we would have those safety briefings, obviously. So it makes sense.
Holden says, "What's wrong with the old gym sock on the door?" Oh, we weren't talking about the same thing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I see that. That's funny.
Well, yeah, we did go into red light talk here.
Yeah, we're not.
But yeah, I always thought that was funny. Yeah, you're right. The radio stations have the red light, and of course, red light means stop. But yeah. So Todd gets done doing a show, everybody, and he starts hearing noise outside of his house, and he opens the door, and he's got a line of people down the street waiting to get in.
Yeah, right. Wait a minute here. Hold on. Wrong idea. But yeah.
So he says, "Sorry guys, I ain't got no women here," and half the guys leaving. The other guys are still standing there holding money. What are you doing?
No. Okay. Here we go. Yeah, we're talking about some sort of scandal, pay to play. I don't know. What are you getting at here?
Yeah.
But it's funny is talk about sex scandals. Talk about Washington D.C. the slush fund that some people have there that they can tap into. That Doge is actually circling the some of these slush funds, and we're going to reveal some of it. I know Congress had that slush fund a few years ago that was partially revealed. If Doge could delve into that, I know it's a different branch of government. It's a legislative branch, but there are these slush funds that are out there that help these members of Congress, and I dare say probably something that's helped executive branch members, especially high up, muckety mucks, if you will, to avoid, say some charges or embarrassing situations. There are these funds that are out there, and I would love to see those being brought to light, and those who have actually accessed them and used them over the years be exposed.
Oh, absolutely, man. The thing about it is back in the 1880s when I was just reading this history a while back ago, in the 1880s when they were building the transcontinental railroads, they put a lot of grant for land, and they put a lot of grants out there for money to build these railroads.
Yeah,
and we had the same sort of scandals happening back then, as we did with USAID today, or USAID. As government officials and people in politics and people in business, they were all grabbing at this grant money, but they weren't using it for its intended purposes. They were collaborating and keeping money. Everybody's getting rich off this.
Oh,
basically just stealing from the United States government. It was way out of control. They discovered it. It was way out of control. The time when they can sort through it and everything was just so drastic. They didn't even bother prosecuting people. It was horrid. It was just overwhelming, And I think that's where we're at now. People have been using this country since the 1950s, probably. That's when USAID started, right? 1960.
Yeah, something
or something like that. I think 61.
Right.
And so they've been basically bilking this country so badly for so long. Are they really going to go through the processes of prosecuting people? Are they going to let them off the hook? I personally want to see justice. I want to see heads roll. I want people to be prosecuted for their wrongdoings. These people, and they said they stole so much money from Social Security. We've heard it for decades. Grandma can't decide if she's going to eat tonight or go get her pills. And it's disgusting to think there's little old ladies out there and little old men out there that can't make it. And they weren't given, and I've said this enough times on this show. People were promised. They were promised a continuation of their income upon retirement so they can retire with dignity. That's what they were told in 1930s. And time when people could retire, that were young workers back then, in the 1980s come around, it wasn't there for them anymore. They got a very small portion of what they were supposed to get to retire on. Couldn't afford to live. I can tell you right now, my grandmother wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for my father. If she didn't have children, she wasn't going to make it on that retirement she was planning on.
Yeah.
So they pretty much screwed the American people. And then we find out they've been bilking the Social Security system and pocketing money on their own or for their own purposes and for their own means while grandma can't eat. No, somebody's got to pay for this. People who ripped them off need to pay for this. They put people in jeopardy. They put lives at risk.
Yeah. No,
out of the American public.
Yeah, absolutely. And, here's what people should realize whenever we talk about looking into, say, Social Security or Medicare, Medicaid fraud and all this stuff, people got to realize we're not talking about coming in, taking it away from people who truly need it and, have earned it or that are receiving it justly. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about somebody who's 150 years old and doesn't actually exist anymore. Where's that check going and who's it going to and why is it going there? Why is there 6, 7 checks going to one address? And it's not a retirement community or anything like that. What's going on there? It's a single family home. Why is there 6 or 7 checks going to one place and the people are 115 years old on average? There's something going on there that doesn't pass the smell test. Why can't we look into that and eliminate that fraud and go after those people and set the example? That's what we're talking about whenever we're talking about eliminating the fraud, waste, and abuse. We're not talking about getting rid of it for everyday people who've earned it and paid into a system and who have done so, whether it was, they wanted to pay into it or whether they were forced into it like we have right now where you're forced into paying it, Medicare, Medicaid, and all that. Social Security, you're forced into it. It's automatically deducted from your check unless you're working under the table. You're forced into a system. You expect it to be there, and it should be there for those people who did the right thing, who went about their day trying to live their lives as best they can. Pursuing life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, all that good stuff is provided for. Our enable rights. These are the things that we should ensure that are there for those people. But the people who are going to game the system, or who are people who are lying, or people who are here illegally, no, let's get them off the system, get them out, and prosecute them if necessary.
Absolutely, prosecute by all means. Make sure that they're held accountable.
Bingo.
Getting to the bottom of the hour here, ladies and gentlemen. If you're just not tuned in, you're listening to WSMN 1590 on your AM dial, 95.3 on your FM dial. First time ever, I thought to give a call sign. But darn it, and I had something to follow up with here. Oh, fear mongering. That's a liberal. What you're referring to is liberal left fear mongering. Is they keep telling these people that, oh, well, the right's going to try to take away your Social Security. They're trying to eliminate Social Security programs, and they're going to leave you without, and yada yada yada. That's not what's happening at all. No. You're right, Todd. It's not happening.
They've been down that road too many times. They use the same old stuff. Oh, it's racist, xenophobic, it's homophobic, it's all this stuff. But how many people just in the past presidential election? How many African Americans and minorities openly moved over to supporting Republicans and the MAGA agenda, the America First agenda? A noticeable number of minorities have moved over. That's Hispanics, it's African Americans, that's across, the board. Women, coming across, single females, coming across and voting for Republicans in record numbers and probably in recent memory, since there's been records of the stuff. So the Democrats are going in the wrong direction, yet their messaging is either staying the same or they're doubling down on it. So they've got to do something to better their odds in the future, which I hope that they don't. I hope that they fall by the wayside and go the way of the Whig Party, and falls into the ash bin of history.
Yeah, but the problem is the party dies, but
There's
the
something
same
else to
people
replace
create
it.
a new party, right? It's
Sure.
going to be the same people involved, and
Sure.
that's the issue within
But
itself.
what the best outcome with the left would be, and this is my thought, would be a far left party come out of it, and a moderate left party that you can work with. It's reasonable that moderate right, middle of the road people would be able to solve some things. Even some hard right people who realize on an occasion, hey, we could work for these guys to get this something passed meaningful. Whether that or not they realize how conservative that piece of legislation is besides the point. You would have a large number of people in, say, Congress that could work with one another, and still call themselves Democrats or whatever, but be moderate left, reasonable, where you could actually have that discussion with them and not everything be racist, xenophobe, homophobe, or whatever the phobia that they want to put on it. That's what the best outcome could happen here.
The left started out, Democrats, as you know, the Democrat Party in 1823, when it was first created, started out as a conservative party.
Sure.
And established conservative values. And along the lines, it started deviating, become what we call liberals today. Liberals are really, if they went back to just being liberals, it might be okay. Liberals are really about removing barriers.
Yeah.
And that's not such a bad thing because it's about freedoms. The problem with the liberals is they don't know when enough is enough. So you'll get somebody like, if you go back to 1913, okay, liberals believed in small tariffs. They believed in limited tariffs, reduce the tariffs, get rid of the tariffs. What people don't understand is President McKinley was high on tariffs. He actually lost a senatorial seat because he was big on tariffs. He believed in higher tariffs.
Yeah, his House seat. Yeah, his House seat. But then became governor and president.
Oh, was it a House seat? I'm sorry.
Yeah, he is a longtime member of the House, but they got redistricted and they lost that seat. But then became governor, very popular governor, became a very popular president, and on tariffs too.
But the tariffs worked. That's the thing people don't understand.
Right.
Tariffs were great for the country, and it really established a lot of wealth for the country. Liberals wanted to get rid of the tariffs at the turn of the century, and so about 1913 they passed the Revenue Act of 1913, which created the 16th Amendment. So what they did is they limited the tariffs, but to make up the tax difference, they established personal income tax. So you can blame the darn liberals for the path to file with the IRS every year, March 15th, which is coming up pretty soon, by the way.
Yep.
So they never know when enough is enough. So they kind of turn the screws on the American people because on tariffs, if I go out and buy a product and I pay the tax on the product, that means I can afford to buy the product. And so I'm paying the taxes according to what I can afford to spend. But when it comes to personal income tax, they're just gouging you, man. They're just taking it. They're punishing you for working. The more you work, the more you pay. It's kind of a sick way to do it. Instead of the more you spend, the more you pay. So they turned it around. They screwed the American people. Then you got to jump up here in 1970s. It was Jimmy Carter who was the deregulatory president. He deregulated trucking. When he deregulated trucking, he opened the doors to charlatans. Anybody could get into trucking now. It used to be a business of professionals. You had to know the business to get into it. You had to know people to get into it. You didn't just go walking through an open door and say, here I am, and then just tear up the industry. And so it devalued the industry. It devalued the workmanship. Now you got people out there that just are ill-trained. It corrupted the whole industry. It brought charlatans in here that are basically creating scandals within the industry. Brokers are just taking over the industry. And this is all because of deregulation. They never know when enough is enough. And that's why you need conservatives, because it creates balance, because they understand, wait, we might have to actually put a tool in here, a premise to prevent this sort of thing from happening. So it kind of protects people right all the way around, probably didn't explain that as well as I intended to. But anyway, so but the relationship between liberals and conservatives used to work pretty well through the years until about the 1930s, I guess. But there was a fight back and forth. But now liberals are just full-blown Marxist.
Yeah, right.
And today they're over here saying, after all these years of women saying, wait a minute, we deserve a right to vote. They got it. We deserve a fair pay. They got it. We deserve, whatever the women needed that weren't satisfactory. They weren't getting equal rights. They got them. And now you got liberals over here, or Marxist Democrats over here, saying this transgender right supersedes your rights as a female. So they can compete with you in sports, take the scholarship from you in the sports, and go to college and leave you twisted in the wind. What happened here? There's no balance. There's nothing fair or just about this. So the transgender, their rights are superseding women's rights. And this is the problem. So there's no balance, and rights are not meant to supersede. Rights are meant to be beneficial for everybody. It's supposed to be equal across the board, but it's not with the Marxist Democrats.
Yeah, right. Interesting. So let me ask you this, and this is just a thought here, thought exercise, if you will. Do you think that the Democrats are losing support by different demographics? So people are getting older, they're getting more mature. Some of them are getting more realistic with their politics, if you will. They become more conservative as they get older. Do you think maybe that they're losing support, so therefore they have to create new demographics of support where it's like they divide, it's like the trans, now it's trans under 30 that has cystic fibrosis, so they create new pockets of people to be able to divide and divide and divide. So and they act as if they're the voice of reason or the voice of support for these different groups, because everybody can be like, well, yeah, I could fall into that group. I fall into that group. I've got this, I've got that, I've got this. And you can figure out, well, maybe they're the people that are really fighting for you if you're uninformed. Do you think maybe that they're losing support amongst people, that they have to create all these different groups to keep division, or if you will, or to try to maintain a power base? I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think they're just trying to be righteous. And yeah, I think they're trying to always make themselves relevant. And so it's like selling an item, right? After a while, everybody understands, right. Here's a pair of sunglasses, and I've been selling the same pair of sunglasses for 10 years. Well, people are going to move on to a different fashion at some point. And so you got to keep changing your sunglasses, the shapes, the designs, and stuff like that, to keep people intrigued and interested. And I think that's what they're doing, is they're trying to you're right. They're trying to reinvent themselves to keep people intrigued and interested, and promote themselves. Like, look at us. We're standing up for your rights. We're standing up for your freedoms. Even though we're screwing these people over out of their rights and their freedoms, we're standing up for rights and freedoms, and we're paving a new path. And it's more like progressivism, right? And so, yeah, I think you're right. I think that's what they're doing, is they're just trying to reinvent themselves, but they don't understand, or they don't seem to understand, because they keep following the same playbook. And we're in this information age. We're in this technological age where everything's at your fingertips, and people have awakened, and they figure these things out. They understand how politics they work, and understand how they're working us. This isn't the 1950s anymore. People are very much aware, even at a young age. And so they're seeing through their tactics. And these people in power are too stupid to realize they're transparent. Everybody's seeing through them. They're seeing the man behind the curtain all day, every day.
Right. And you think about it, the different issues that they've been championing over the past just a few years. Let's just say since Obama left office. Let's go back that far, which isn't really that long ago. The stuff that they are championing now, where do they get that there's a need for them to be the champion of these particular issues or rights, if you will? Because if you go to most places in the country, you're not seeing any of these things as being brought up at local city councils, local boards of education meetings or whatever. But all of a sudden, they're being championed at a national level, to an extreme level. You know what I mean? To an extreme amount. It's like, trans rights and all this stuff. It's not really being discussed at any local level. But all of a sudden, it's an imperative at the national level somehow, that they spend millions of dollars on these issues that in middle America don't seem to be an issue.
So what you're talking about is special interest lobbyists, right?
Yeah, where are
so
they?
You get these people like say these gay people, and they have lobbies. And I'm not trying to pick on gay people here, but they're pushing an agenda about homosexuality. And a lot of gay people just said, "Hey, look, we got our rights, we're satisfied, and we're moving on." They don't like the transgender thing. They think it's going to be detrimental to gay rights. However, you get these people that just, enough isn't enough in regarding these matters. So let's just say, one of my favorite people here to talk about is Randy Weingarten. Happens to be the president of the American Federation of Teachers Union. She takes teachers union money and pushes DEI concepts throughout the globe. She travels all over the place to spend buku money that really belongs to the union. She's using it for political purposes. Right. So she's right up there in the hindquarters of the liberal left, powerhouse, power players in the liberal left.
Right.
and she's pushing her agenda. Well, she's not the only one. You got the what's the other one? The NEA is also
Sure.
another one who does
Sure.
the same sort of thing. You got other people that are pushing these things. If you look at the United Nations, they allow 501c type of organizations within United Nations, so you have a voice, and you've got a lot of these people with these special interest lobbies that are at the United Nations talking these things. And when you
Right.
look it up and see about these 501c organizations, you'll see a lot of these DEI types of organizations that are there and
Right.
pushing these things among the United Nations and other organizations associated with like World Economic Forum with the United Nations. And then I find one good conservative organization for parental rights. One. The rest of them are all these other lobbies for all these DEI agendas. So
Right.
you got that kind of combination going on, and who's funding these people in office?
Right.
I mean, they're not
and-
coming to you and me, right? I'm not getting a phone call from Congressman such and such because I'm not a powerhouse funder here. I don't donate the what is it, $3,200 you can donate per year to a campaign.
Yeah, well, you're talking about an individual, but you got all the dark money, the PAC money that can just spend as much as they want on any
Yeah.
agenda.
Yeah.
But now here's a thought. You know, we live in a first world society, a lot of first world problems. Look at our healthcare. Created by our own choices, if you will, in a lot of ways. Our diets. What do we put into our bodies? What do we eat? High fructose corn syrup, processed this and that. Diabetes. Heart disease, and all these things that are preventable. Lung cancer and stuff like that. That's generally preventable by making better choices. Are true issues. But is it that there's no real money in that, or is it there's no real chaos and making that as an issue? Because you think about it, you transgender or create is transgender story. I'm not against people who are transgender, or who suffer from gender dysmorphia. Let's be clear on that.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not going to support this trans story hour at the local library where you have your basically a male genitalia flapping around with a thin piece of cloth in front of it, dancing for your kids, telling a story. That's a sick agenda. I don't know what's the point of that. But this to pretend as if that Republicans or conservatives are out attacking people who are trans and trying to take away their human rights. That's not the case. We're just saying that you're not going to be throwing this in front of kids, and trying to indoctrinate them into something that they have no reason being in front of. They don't understand, what they're seeing. They don't understand what the heck this is. It's not normal to them. But somehow this is what the left is deciding that they want to support. Do you think it's because they want to sow some sort of chaos in our society to keep people divided on things that are really not something that they're focusing on? So you don't focus on the true nefarious stuff that they're doing behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, that is part of the playbook, right?
Right.
Again, pay no mind to the man behind the curtain, right? Here's
Right.
all the smoke and the mirrors over here, and let me
Right.
create a distraction for you. As long as you focus on the distraction,
Yeah.
you don't see us running this game over here behind your back, making buku bucks off you.
Yeah.
Although I
because-
think when you're talking about GEO foods and stuff like that, I just think that's a thing. It's cheaper to produce corn syrup. than it
Sure,
is to
I
produce
get that.
sugar.
That is true.
And corn syrup is nowhere near. I mean, too much sugar is not good for you, but sugar is a lot better for you to be consuming than corn syrup is.
That's true.
But you get to use the whole of the corn this way. You're using
Right.
the whole crop, and then you got the conspiracy behind it. Is look, if we're making them sick on corn syrup, then we're investing in the medical too, right?
Then you got the health.
Now they're buying my
industry,
pills,
right.
yeah. So
Right,
it's kind of
right.
like and I tell people this: we're like chattel property.
Right.
We're
Well,
being used all the time.
And if people really truly peel back, the curtain, you have people on the right and the left, and generally sometimes it's the same people. One's pulling one lever, one's pulling the other. A lot of times it's the same person. They're just pulling two different levers, two different machines, just to keep people divided and keep people distracted, to keep money flowing to whatever it is that they're trying to do, which isn't really solve any of the problems that you really have. And the problems that they're telling you that are really out there. Like, let's say it's trans story hour, which is an issue for sure, but it's not going on in every library across this country. We got to get them out of the libraries. It's like in my home county, I don't know that's ever happened, not one time in Sullivan County, Tennessee, in the past, since this has been an issue, right? So to try to make this an issue in a county like this, you're distracting people from real issues that are actually going on out there behind the scenes that people could actually focus on solving. whatever those issues may be. But you're being distracted by these big conglomerate organizations that are trying to tell you, here's the real problem. And it's like, that's not really the big problem in my local area. Can we talk about those issues? People don't want to even talk about the real issues. That you get to the point where they want to talk about real issues. They want to gloss over it and be outraged about the thing that they're told that they should be outraged about. Did that make sense there?
Yeah. No, what you're talking about is they're tapping into people's emotions. So you
Yeah,
got emotional reasoning and you got
right.
logic and reasoning,
And
right? And if you're
outrage
thinking
culture.
logically, yes, if you're thinking logically, then you're going to process things properly and you're going to react properly. But when people
Right.
are emotionally reasoning things, they're becoming reactionist.
Right.
And so, yeah, they jump on the bandwagon and they're raising the torches and pitchforks. And
Yeah, outrage culture it cuts across the both left and the right.
Well, how hard is it to pass a bill within your town, or have somebody go into the school libraries within your school? One person can go in there and investigate, right? Open up books and look around, make sure that things are kosher within the
Right.
libraries, that the kids are getting the proper types of reading material.
Sure, and
I mean, you still got to protect the children.
Right, and we have lists of things that say at a school library, and I'm differentiating in our public libraries from our school libraries, by the way. So, but at our school libraries, you can go online. There's a web. I don't know the actual website, but I know that there's a website you can go and look up what's available for librarians in our schools to actually purchase at different levels. So that way you can see, hey, this is appropriate at the high school level. This may not be appropriate at a middle school or an elementary school level, but it's appropriate at the high school level. And then that's where the book is. And that's perfectly fine. But to try to say, this is outrage, this is going on. Like I've had how many people tell me that, that there are kitty litter, kitty litter boxes, if you will, and the excuse me, not the libraries, but in the bathrooms in local schools. And no matter how many times you tell them that that's not going on, that's not taking place in this county or any, and they'll tell you matter of factly that they know it's going on, that I need to go do my homework. And it's like, where specifically is this? Tell me, I will go there right now and I will look and I will do my homework and I will go in person. And I've had people say, well, they'll just hide it whenever you show up. It's like, who's they? And where are they hiding a kitty litter box?
They're being nonsensical.
And if this was going on this day and age, let me do this. You got my little smart device here, my little Apple iPhone. How many kids in high school this day and age have these devices in their pockets or purses, bags, whatever? Probably 90% of people in high school today probably have it on them on a daily basis or some other smart device, right? Would be able to take a photo or a video of them, in their school, in their classrooms, in their bathrooms, whatever, locker rooms. They'd probably be kicking it down the hallway too. If it was back in my day in high school, somebody would probably throw it down the hallway, on day one.
Yeah.
So there would be videos of this going on. But so for the people to say and get pissed off to a degree that they're about to go to blows with you because you say it's not going on, there's no proof of it. And you have to deal with this, and as a member of the BOE, I've had to deal with several people that are just adamant about that it's going on. And you're like, no, ma'am, no, sir, that's not actually going on in our community, nowhere. And they can't point to it, but no matter what, they will refuse to actually, admit maybe that they're wrong. Instead will say you're in on it.
Do they at least offer you a basis of their claim? Like, my
No,
kid's coming home as a witness to it.
They'll say that's what I've heard or that's what they've said, because it's always I heard and they said. Who are the two biggest liars in the world, right? Because you can never point to who is I heard or they said. It's just rumor that's out there in the ether that somebody picked up, but they'll never point to any facts. But whenever you start talking about facts, it's somehow you're against them or you're in on it. It's like, I'm not against you or in on it. If you can point to it or show me, I'll be glad to call it out with you. But I'm not going to be outraged at something that I don't need to truly be outraged about.
There's
that's the way I look at it. And that's where the big money and the dark money does. It spins people up and divides people on topics that they don't need to really be upset about. But they do it in such a way that it's like, it makes you think as if you're not outraged on this particular issue, there's something wrong with you. So it makes it hard for you to be against it if you're on the right or the left or whichever side you're on. Makes it hard for you to stand up and say, hey, let's be pragmatists here and maybe let's look into it before we just jump off the bridge here and believing that something's about to happen that we need to jump off the bridge for.
So have you ever had any teachers or anything come in and talk to you about any of this stuff, or
Oh,
say no, it's not coming on?
yeah, I've had many teachers and administrators. We just talk about it just in general. Tell me that that's not going on. It's nowhere in our schools, and people still, refuse to drop it. There's still those people that want to hammer it. And I'm like, that's not real. I mean, I get it. You can be upset with national teachers unions and stuff like that, and our state passing a bill that they say is a voucher bill, or excuse me, it said there's a school choice bill, which was really a glorified, voucher bill that we talked about here that most people were against, but they lied about what was actually in the bill. So you got something crammed down the throats of the people in Tennessee. It's going to be the tune of $500 million, which doesn't really do what they say it's going to do. But but pointing out those facts, will get you attacked in certain parts of the Republican Party, because it was by and large Republican voters, or excuse me, Republican legislators who voted for it. But it'll get you attacked in certain circles within the party, and at the same time, you have certain circles within the party that'll shy away from actually doing anything about it or say anything because it passed, at the state legislature, so they'll just drop it. I'm the type of person who's, if there's something wrong, talk about it, bring it out, and shed a little daylight on it, regardless if it's the Republican Party or Democrat Party that supported something in part or in whole. It doesn't matter. Just tell the truth.
Absolutely. No, I agree. Somebody put on here earlier about, will the 93 Clinton gold scandal of 2009 be a topic of conversation after the commander-in-chief visits Fort Knox? I'm just hoping that he visits Fort Knox, and I'm hoping it'll be sometime in the near future. I'm kind of, I don't know about you, Todd, but I'm a little ambitious. I want to see how this plays out.
Right. Here's what I'll tell you. If there's no gold there at all that they could go report to or make it look like, they're going to find some reason to not actually go there. There will be some reason not to go there. If the president has the opportunity to go, he could go visit troops at Fort Knox who are graduating basic training, and then take a little trip over to that side of the house, to the Federal Reserve side of the post, and take a look. Why not?
So it is a Federal Reserve there.
Right. Yeah.
It's not just a fort, then, because the Federal Reserve basically stores all, because they got Federal Reserve in New York City that stores
right.
gold.
And so this is the depository there. So
yeah.
And I hear the depository actually in New York has more gold than Fort Knox, though. So
I thought it was the other way around, but
well, I think it's U.S. gold, obviously, at Fort Knox, but the gold that's in New York is international gold, so it's different countries that have gold there. So I think in total, it's more in total. I'm not sure if that's true, but I've heard that in total that's more gold.
Yeah, because they store private owned gold too.
Right.
And the Federal Reserve in New York. Holden, sorry, man. Yeah, you got a name. It was Holden that asked the question.
Right. Absolutely.
He says,
bullion depository.
Bullion depository. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, there you go.
So, So do you don't think that somebody right now has got like some pavers or something that they're painting gold, and president's coming? Hurry up, get that paint laid down, man.
Right. Yeah, there it is. Look at that.
So I just can't see Trump saying, well, what do you mean we can't visit? What are you saying? Is it there? Is it not there? And if they tell him it's not there, I think he's going to blow a gasket, right? I'm just wondering. Yeah. To me, I think Trump's going to be like, well, move out of the way. I want to see the empty facility.
Yeah. What are the repercussions if it is empty? We're not on the gold standard anymore. So what are the repercussions at this point if it's not there? Where did it go? When did it get gone? Well, for what reason? For what purpose? You know what I'm saying?
There was claims that Nixon sold it off in the 1970s, but I think that we brought a lot back since then too. I don't know, but then Holden was alluding to 93 Clinton gold scandal, and I'm trying to remember what happened in 93. Do you recall, Todd?
I can't remember off the top of my head because we've been off the gold standard since Nixon. So off the hand, I couldn't tell you.
No, but we still store gold.
Sure,
I think there was something about Clinton used gold reserves, because that's basically what it'd be, is gold reserves.
Right.
And he used them. I think he used them for a purpose, and I can't. In 2009, the tested bullion had a tungsten core. Why would that not surprise me? Because I was thinking that I'm wondering, if Trump shows up, if he's going to actually cut gold bars in half, saying,
Right.
I want to see inside it. I want it tested for quality.
Right, because you're not gonna damage the gold. I mean, you may cut it in half or drill it or whatever, but all you gotta do is remelt it, restamp it. You're done. It's
Just
back to
collect
it's
all the
back.
shavings.
Yeah, you're back. It's good to go. Nothing happened.
I had a friend here in Nashua years ago told me, he says the term blowhard. He says, you know where that come from, John? I go, no, actually, I don't know. I just fear somebody talks too hard. I don't know. He says, no, actually, it come from the days of gold mining. And what they used to do is scale the
dynamiting it?
gold, and they would blow the dust off the gold. But the blowhard was the guy who was trying to blow off the gold particles with it, the little particles.
Oh,
so at the
yeah.
end of the day, he could scoop it all up, and he would have himself a nice little nuggets worth of gold when he was all done and said. So they referred to him as a blowhard. So somebody who's talking a lot of nonsense, or he's a blowhard, right? Talking for himself.
Right. Yeah. He's trying to basically wear you down. He's trying to capitalize. Okay.
Yeah. I just thought I'd throw that useless trivia out there just for kicks.
That's interesting. There's two stories here on Newsmax I wanted to touch on real quick. It's because they had both had the word 90% in there, and it's as a number. Senator Cruz to Newsmax: illegal immigration is down apparently 90% since President Trump has taken office. I think that's pretty cool if that's true. And also a report: 90% of USAID foreign contracts to be cut. I think that would be a good thing. And here's the thing: if we're cutting it, did we really need it to start with? And if we cut 90% of the spending, do we need 90% of the agency?
Oh, that's how you keep cutting. So
Right.
with this illegal immigrant, this migration cut down to 90%. Do you think that's because of all this investigation with Doge and stuff, and they're freezing up fundings now? All this money is not going to these 501c3 organizations that were funding their transportation into the United States.
I think that's probably a part of it. I think some of them are probably thinking, if we do go up there, is things about to get, nasty, or people are going to be, lashing out against us? Is there going to be some sort of civil unrest where we're putting our families in harm's way, or because we're trying to escape something bad? Some people perhaps are trying to give themselves a better life, or are we going to be able to get that in America with the current political climate? Probably not. Hopefully that'll keep immigration down, keep people south of the border. I think that's where they need to stay.
Well, yeah, we need to vet people into the country. We don't need to just open
Come
up
in the right
borders and have
way.
them coming in. Because we do vet for diseases and stuff. And when you open up the borders and just let them wander on in, you don't know what they're bringing with them. And we've done a good job through the decades of eradicating serious diseases that they were talking about are starting to, like measles and things like that, are starting to come back.
Right. And a lot of it has to do with people that are coming here unvaccinated, unvetted, undocumented. We don't know who they are, don't know where they're coming from, don't know their health status, don't know what they're going to spread around. And like you said, stuff that we've eradicated, are they going to be able to reintroduce that? Because stuff we don't even test for, or maybe even inoculate people for anymore, perhaps being reintroduced into the country. So we got to be careful with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Holden says he remembers something about Clinton administration using bullion to balance the budget. That singular time, Colonel Wyatt said that was with Social Security. I don't recall it, but I do recall something about it. There's something that does kind of trigger something there, but I just can't remember any details. So I'll take your word for it, Holden. That's probably the case. I think he did use gold for a purpose. But, it's like anything else. Things change over time, and 93 was quite a while ago. I'm sure we brought gold back into the country, whether it was our gold or we're just storing it for other people. I do not know.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, but who knows? There's too many conspiracy theories that surround the Federal Reserve as it is, but I would like to see, is there anything in there? What can we see that's inside the bullion repository there at Fort Knox? Be interesting to find that out.
That's going to be fun, man. If they televise it, that'll be fun. That'd be great.
And then Al Capone's vault over here. You know what I'm saying? The only thing in there is a champagne bottle. Next thing you know, Area 51. What's inside there? Dusty old bin, of champagne bottles that Al Capone once drank. Who knows? Or there are aliens in there.
I want to see UFOs. Darn it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, you got to know that a lot of this. Take aliens out of the whole situation. We got a lot of high technology that human beings have come up with. Let's be clear on that one, regardless of whether or not there's aliens and alien influence.
Oh no, it's reverse engineered. I'm telling you, we got some down alien crap, bro.
Well,
now we got ourselves some, what do they call
maybe,
that?
maybe.
I forget the name of it now. What's that new type of cable they got?
Yeah, something.
I know it, but I can't think of it.
No, but it's very plausible. I think we're probably about to hit the break here, right, John?
We're just seconds away, really. So yeah, when we get back, maybe we'll talk a little bit about what Trump was talking about with the national debt and how he's going to get us out of it. I thought that was really interesting to hear him say that today. He and Elon Musk really put their brains together and come up with some really genius ideas. I'm telling you. Oh, you know what? And that's our time to take a break, ladies and gentlemen. Take yourself 5 minutes, bit of a breather for us, and we'll be right back. So don't go nowhere.
WSMN 1590, WSMN 95.3 FM Nashua. Listen, watch, and stream at wsmn.live.
ABC News, I'm Dave Packard. He's not an official member of the president's cabinet, but Elon Musk was there at President Trump's first cabinet meeting of his second term today. Musk defended the federal cuts being made by his Department of Government Efficiency, saying they're necessary to save the country.
And taking a lot of flack and getting a lot of death threats, by the way. I mean, I like to stuff them up, but if we don't do this, America will go bankrupt.
And President Trump reiterated that any federal workers who do not email DOGE with an update on their responsibilities are at risk of being fired. At that meeting, President Trump with a blunt message to Ukraine about joining NATO, telling them forget about it. This comes as President Zelensky plans to visit the White House this week. The measles outbreak in the U.S. has turned deadly. A school-aged child in Texas now has died. This is the first death from measles in the U.S. in a decade. The disease had been eradicated in the United States in the year 2000. This is ABC News. Today marks 32 years since the first attack on New York City's World Trade Center. 6 people died in the 1993 blast, where Islamic extremists tried to bring down the Twin Towers using 1,200 pounds of explosives. Relatives of the victims gathered at the center's Memorial Plaza to lay flowers and read the names of their lost loved ones. Well, get ready because Alexa's about to get more intelligent.
At an event in New York City, Amazon pulled the wraps off Alexa Plus, a new version of the company's voice assistant that incorporates generative AI. And Gadget's Devendra Hardawar says it's designed to make the system easier to talk to.
You'll be able to just talk to Alexa, say, hey, what's the good pizza near me, and have it delivered to you through delivery services like Grubhub.
But AI like this can produce false or erroneous information.
If that information is incorrect, that hurts your life.
Mike Dabowski, ABC News.
British production company BP says it'll slash spending on green ventures. Dave Packer, ABC News.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
When it comes to my lifestyle and diet, I don't always make the smartest choices.
Touchdown! Woo! Hey, how about another round and some more chips?
But when it comes to taking care of my liver, I do make one very smart choice. Active liver tablets from New Nordic. I used to have real issues with my liver, and at my last checkup, my doc was concerned about my numbers. But since adding a once-a-day active liver tablet, my gut's better, I feel great, and my doctor's happy. I ask a lot of my liver, so the least I can do to say thanks is a daily dose of Active Liver.
You ask a lot of your liver, so give it the support it needs with Active Liver. You can find Active Liver at Amazon.com, or for a volume discount, visit NewNordicUSA.com. Go to NordicUSA.com, Amazon, or ask for Active Liver at your local CVS. New year, new you, New Nordic.
Lockdown mayhem is here at Campers Inn RV. We slashed our already low sale prices by over $4 million on more than 350 RVs, and we're passing those savings directly on to you. Now's the perfect time to find your dream RV. Don't miss the new Transcend Explorer 24-foot travel trailer featuring bunks and a walk-around queen bed, yours for just $159 a month. Hurry into Campers Inn RV, the trusted home of the Integrity Price Promise, and take advantage of markdown mayhem before it's gone.
Continuing the legacy started in 1904, Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument Incorporated continues to provide the same high-quality monument, custom headstone, and stoneworking craftsmanship today that they built their reputation on over 100 years ago, servicing Nashua, New Hampshire, as well as nearby areas in Massachusetts, such as Lowell, Billerica, Chelmsford, and beyond. From creating custom monuments to memorialize, to landscaping and granite work or restorative services, each job is done to your satisfaction and is backed by decades of experience and integrity. If you're thinking about stonework, think Roger Pellerin of Gate City Monument. Visit online at gateCityMonument.com. Stop by and meet Roger at 321 West Hollis Street in Nashua, or call 603-883-7141. That's 603-883-7141. Gate City Monument, memorials of distinction for people.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just now tuning in, you're listening to the Common Sense Conservatives. Todd, I kind of think that's kind of funny because when I think of the monuments, I think of funerals and
right.
Cemeteries and stuff like that. And I'm kind of thinking maybe a lot of people are feeling like they're dying in Washington, D.C. since Trump has been in office. They're going, from my understanding, there's been a lot of searches for defense lawyers and a number of other things that shows that a lot of people in DC have concerns for their own well-being. You hear anything about this?
Well, are you talking about people as far as getting fired, or just?
Oh no, that's been happening, but no, I think people are
crime
concerned that
rates
there's going to
going up.
be. I mean, even before Trump was inaugurated, they were searching. I guess it became a thing. I was reading on internet where this guy, he said he went and looked it up himself. He used Google Trends tool. It was looking up searches within Washington, D.C., because originally he thought, well, that's a lot of searches for defense lawyers and so on and so forth. And so he narrowed it down to D.C. He's thinking maybe it's just nationally.
Okay.
And
I see what you're saying. Like, defense lawyers in respects to, are they going to come at me for something? Was I in charge of a large block of money and somehow some of it went to an account that maybe wasn't real over the course of 5, 6, 10 years or whatever, you being responsible for that contract, a few $1 million have disappeared, not much to focus in on annually, but over the course of several years, it's added up over time. Maybe very possible.
so we talked about FTX. Remember that with the
Right.
they were given Ukraine money for the war, and some of the
Sure.
money went back to FTX, and FTX put a lot of the money back into the DNC.
Of course, a
And
lot of it.
basically shell companies and all this other stuff go on there in DC. They're
Yep.
taking grant money and they're pocketing a lot of it. They're moving it
Yeah.
around among themselves. They're pocketing a lot of it. So there's a lot of underhanded things going on. The American people have been fleeced for far too long, and now there's Trump over there, Mr. I'm going to drain the swamp, and they come to realize we just laid into that guy for 4 years really, really hard and failed at being successful to imprison him or to break him down or make it so he can't be voted back in. And now
Right.
he's in power, and they're like this going, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because now we just basically poked a big hornet's nest, and he's got the power of law on his side, and he's not really, I don't think he's looking for retaliation. He just, hey, look, the law's the law, and if you broke the law, you broke the law. And that's
Right.
what it comes down to. And so
Well, the thing about the pardons that Joe Biden gave are very telling, where you gave carte blanche, if you will, pardons to so many different people, and basically said, for anything that you've basically done that's illegal. Now, and you don't have to admit that you did anything illegal, but for anything that you may have done that's illegal, we're going to go ahead and pardon you preemptively before you've even been investigated or even tried, let alone being convicted. So to me, that tells me you've done something, that these people have done something. How many other people that didn't warrant or didn't rise to the level of being able to receive a pardon have done things over the years, whether it's unilaterally or basically, for the furtherance of their own cause, if you will, a political party, a political ideology. How many people are in Washington that do those very things? I know a lot of them that do those very things. And it's called the deep state. People, say, oh, the deep state. But here's the thing about the deep state. The deep state's not some organized nefarious thing. It's a multitude of things. It's people that have been in, basically put in places that in years past that maybe they've taken what do you call it, political jobs, and now all of a sudden it's like they fast forward to the end of administration. They say, hey, how about taking an official career job right over here? We're going to plant you at a level that you're senior enough that you can slow roll a lot of things, but you're not high enough that you're going to be on anybody's chopping block. And they plant these people all throughout the executive branch. And they kind of just hide out and they do the slow roll every so often, slow an agenda up. They follow the law, they follow the rules, but they do everything they can to make sure that before that piece of legislation is enacted fully, that they'll slow it up every bit of every second that they can. That's what part of the deep state is. It's not necessarily a shadow government that's pulling strings behind, behind the facade, if you will, but it's people that doing stuff like that are a big part of the problem in our society and in our government. Lobbyists are another part of the problem as well. Holden points out here, they're part of that whole process, if you will, the revolving door, if you will, to whether it's a lobbying firm or whether it's some sort of a defense industry, if you will, that revolving door of generals that leave, and go get these high paying positions, or people that are, political appointees that'll sit there and do 2 or 3 years, and then they'll go out to the private sector and make a heck ton of money. You see these types of people that are on Fox News or MSNBC on a regular basis that never leave the swamp. They're on the right, they're on the left. They're part of that problem. And for the most part, they're on the left because people on the right traditionally have wanted to go out into the private sector and make a name for themselves and make their own way. But primarily, the left has no problem playing the administrative state, if you will. You put me in somewhere, I'll camp out for 15, 20 years and do a full career, inflicting our own agenda on people. But they'll never break the law, not one time. That makes sense there?
Yeah, no, I'm a little distracted because I heard a blip and I thought that meant Chris was coming in, and all of a sudden nothing. So yeah, no, you're right. We also have a rhino problem within the Republican Party, and that entails people who are really on the left who seem to be getting positions within the Republican Party. We just interviewed a guy yesterday on Patriot Federation who just started an organization called the Rhino Removal Project. Rhino Removalproject.org, and his whole purpose of his organization is to expose these rhinos and stuff for what they are, and try to get people to vote them out so we get true Republicans and the people who really care about this country.
Right.
And that's what conservatism was supposed to be about, is patriotic Americans who care about this country and are standing up and doing the right thing for this country. At least I always thought.
Yeah, no, that's what it should be. But you think about this on the right, you see a lot of these different groups that pop up on a regular basis. Okay, the colonel's looking to call in. I don't know if you saw that. He texted you. That's what you're receiving there, that text message. The colonel's texting and getting the number to call in. So looks like he may not be joining us for the people who are not watching us live here, but who are listening to us on WSMN. The colonel, who's usually with us, looks like he may not be joining us from his at-home studio, but he's probably going to call in. But
He's probably driving.
Probably driving. Yeah, he's going to drive and do a radio show.
Hey, it's fine as long as he got a hands-free device, and he knows how to drive and talk at the same time. We all do.
Absolutely. And if you can't, pull over or stop driving because there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, you can't talk and drive at the same time, man. A lot of people got their hands going about and leaning over, looking over to the spouse.
Right. Yeah. Right.
Oh, geez. So when we took a break, though, I mentioned, we were talking about the genius of Elon Musk and Donald Trump, and Trump had a cabinet meeting today, and they televised it. It was pretty awesome stuff. I don't remember all the details of it right now, but there was this one point where Trump started talking about gold certificates for migration. And so people often cost them a lot of money to come to this country, but he's talking about, I guess, prioritizing people with these certificates. And the concept is, if he sells these certificates, it puts people at the front of the line. I'm not sure exactly entirely how it works. I guess it's like a ride at Disney. You got the ticket, you get to go to the front of the line. But
or does the ticket allow you access to be screened first, but maybe doesn't allow you access to the country? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, no, yeah, that's exactly it. I think so. The point is he wants to sell these what he calls what did he call? Here, I'll tell you what he called them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't see that, but and I'm sure you're going to explain it here. But what it sounds to me is like, hey, we have to pay. The American taxpayers have to pay you a background check to do a full investigation on you anyway. Why not? You share some of the burden if you really want to come here. Put up some money up front. Whether it's the full amount or whether it's just a token amount that shows that you're serious. I don't have a problem with something like that.
So the Golden Visa program.
Yeah, where you could pay, and I could say if you truly can't pay, if you're truly somebody who's seeking asylum, yeah, you could waive that fee. I think that's fine. But for those who can truly afford it and want to come here, why not put up a little bit of cash up front?
Yeah, it's not meant to hinder true asylum seekers or anything
Right.
like that. So the concept is we got to manage our national debt,
Yes, we
and
do.
and so what he's saying is if we charge this fee on this Golden Visa program, then people who truly want to Americanize, become part of this country, want to come over here, they pay this fee. And I forgot the details exactly how he worded it, but he's talking about like, I don't remember if it was $1 million would cover like $1 trillion or something. So the concept, and he said it, he says, I don't know if I'd ever sell one. I don't know if I'd ever sell 5. I don't know how many I would sell if I'd sell any at all. But it's a program we're putting together. And the concept is we're trying to buy down our national debt. And by doing this, we think we can adequately buy down our national debt. So, and the way he described it, it sounds like it's really adequate. It could be very lucrative, and over a proper period of time, this might actually work for us. And I thought, my God, this is genius, man. This is really genius because I don't know about you, but it kind of weighs on me a little bit. I'm $37 trillion is a lot of money. How are we going to manage this? How are we going to work this out? Sure, Doge is rooting around and they're finding excessive spending, wasteful spending. We tighten that up. That's going to help. We're paying $1 trillion interest a year.
Right.
So how are we going to get on top of this? Because in order to manage this, we're going to have to pay like $1.5 to $2 trillion to pay against the principal, probably 1.5 or something, right? To manage it over a period of time to get it down. And so between the two things there, I think they're onto something. It'll be interesting to see. And of course, with his economic policies and stuff, and with the tariffs and people wanting to come to this country to build companies and such, this might actually be pretty lucrative for the United States as far as getting our debt managed. Can't say it'll take care of everything, but he had it worked out. Like we might end up, I mean, the possibility is as high as we could have $50 trillion with the $15 trillion reserve, which would be put us ahead of the 8 ball instead of behind it. So I thought it was a pretty good idea. I thought it was pretty cool. We'll have to see. I mean, it comes down to how many people have how much money in the world that want to come here, be part of the United States. And he did end it with, and listen, this doesn't mean we don't vet people. We still vet people. We're not just going to let anybody into the country. We're going to vet them accordingly.
Right. Absolutely.
So he's not sacrificing or compromising integrity.
Yeah, I mean, with 30-some trillion in debt, America's going to have to. It's not just taxing your way out of it. You're not going to be able to tax your way out of it. I mean, if you seized every penny that everybody has in the country, first off, not feasible. You still couldn't pay for it. The entire national debt. This is something that's going to take a number of decades to get out of it, and it's going to cost not only spending cuts. The rest of the world paying their fair share whenever it comes to say NATO or something like that, or at the same time us not getting fleeced in trade negotiations. That's a big part of it, and at the same time ensuring that the money that we do bring in goes to focus on things that we have issues here within our country, whether it's a natural disaster, if you will, spending on education in our own country, things that we should focus on. That's where the real spending should go, and whenever it comes to say spending some money elsewhere. Unless it's say truly defense spending, or somebody needs some help with a natural disaster, or us ponying up our defense, with NATO, we shouldn't be spending really any money anywhere outside the U.S. And inside the U.S., we should ensure that it's going to the right things, not going to somebody that's 150-year-old receiving Social Security. Because guess what? They died 50, 60 years ago. So somebody's been cheating you for 60 years here in America. Somebody's getting over.
It doesn't make sense. Okay, so with USAID, hang on a second, Todd. I gotta bring Chris in. Oh, I know it's Chris. So hang on.
The magic of radio, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Chris, your line should be open.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, there you are. People have been looking for you, man.
What's up, people? Look for you. Can you put me on?
You're on. Hey, did you become ambassador to South Africa? Is that the announcement? we're
Okay.
gonna get?
Hey, guys, first time caller, long time listener. Love the show. But you got to get rid of that Todd McGinley guy. He's full of it.
Yeah.
Oh, he targets you, Todd.
I know. Why not?
How's it going, gents?
Good.
Good. So what was the meeting? What, are you an ambassador now, or what are you, a special advisor?
I'm not hearing Todd. I got a bad connection apparently.
He's not hearing you, Todd.
Oh, I'm sorry. But can you ask him the question?
So, Chris.
Hey, John, maybe that's just as well. No, I'm just kidding.
No, man. No, Todd can hear you though. So we've been sitting there speculating throughout the show that well, Chris Wyatt has a very important meeting to get to today. So important that he actually missed a better part of the show. So we're kind of thinking you're coming back here to say, ladies and gentlemen, I have been nominated for ambassador to South Africa. What do you think there, Chris? Are you going to be the next ambassador? And if so, are you actually going to accept, because you do have the common sense conservatives to do?
No, sadly, that's not the case. That was not what my meeting was in Maryland. It was meeting with a couple of groups from South Africa and discussing the situation between South Africa and the United States, the Solidarity Movement and AfriForum. I met with their leadership this evening and interviewed two of their members to talk about the situation. They were at the White House yesterday, and so we talked about that. So that's what the not secret meeting, but the reason why I'm not on air tonight. Those interviews will be edited and posted later tonight. One of them tomorrow for those interested in that conversation.
Oh, so you met him for interviews. I was thinking you're already doing ambassadorship right here on the stateside.
No, not the ambassador. I think the front runner is someone that's a little better connected from Breitbart rather than me. But it was an interesting conversation, and I think that my viewers will find it quite interesting what they had to say when those interviews are uploaded. So I'm on my way back home now, and so did we invade Greenland today? What did I miss while I was out of the office?
Trump did have a cabinet meeting. We were just talking about that, and so he had a cabinet meeting which was televised today, which was very interesting. And one of the highlights for me was the fact that he had said that. Well, we just went through it just now, but he's going to start charging golden visas for a program for people to migrate into the country to help bring down our national debt. And we think it's a pretty good idea, pretty good program. It's kind of genius on its own level. He didn't guarantee it's going to work, but we're kind of hoping it kicks in and works for us. And we're thinking maybe with the economy that he's developing and the way he's trying to grow his economy, there's a lot of people going to want to come over here for either work or to grow businesses.
Yeah, guys, I'm having a hard time picking up the conversation. I guess I'm too far from civilization here out in the outskirts of Washington, D.C. Well, let me do this. I'll hang up when I get a little closer to better towers. I'll call back, and if you guys can hear me and I can hear you, then I'll try to contribute. I don't want to distract from the audience right now. I'll call you back, okay?
All right, man. Sounds good.
All right. Colonel Chris Wyatt driving back from the Washington, D.C. area, apparently been just north of the city there in Maryland, having some meetings tonight with some folks from South Africa. As we knew he was having meetings with some folks from somewhere, probably South Africa. We didn't know the full gist of everything. So he'll probably fill us in or the interviews that he'll be posting on his own social media and his own forums soon. Hopefully that'll explain a lot of that. And at the same time, doesn't look like he's going to be ambassador. That would have been nice if he had a shot at that. And of course, can't say whether or not his name was being floated around in certain circles or not. It may have been, but it's interesting. He's still playing a part in relaying good information and giving some good advice to folks and listen to what they have to say. I think that's a good thing.
Oh, I wish there was an address or something we can give people to like write a letter of recommendation for him,
Right. Yeah.
Of course, maybe coming from you or I don't know if it would mean a whole lot, at least not from me being a truck driver, but maybe you, because you got some connections and stuff and people know you. And
I don't know.
A little bit of credentials.
Right. Yeah. But I need to be able to use my credentials to get myself a pencil at the gift shop,
A pencil at the gift shop.
That's what I got to
You mean a signature pen, right? You wanted
right. There we go. Yeah. That's it. Or at least I can get a pen that looks like it and be like, yeah, he used this. I'm pretty sure of it. Prove otherwise,
So how do you feel about taxes, Todd? Do you think that we should have a fair tax, or do you think that we should continue down the path that we're already on?
I think the path that we're on is certainly a broken path for sure. I think there's a ways that we can do things a lot better, whether it is a fair tax or a flat tax combination. I don't know. There's a lot of ways I think we could do our tax code a heck of a lot better for sure. I think that goes without saying. But I think people shouldn't be overtaxed, overburdened, and at the same time, we shouldn't have any more government that we need to fund. And I say need loosely, air quotes, than we actually should. The constitutional government. Provide for the common defense, conduct your diplomacy, be the arbiter between the states, if you will, or individuals whenever that we have discrepancies, disputes amongst ourselves, or with our own local or state governments. But we shouldn't get any additional government that we don't need. Like say Department of Education at the federal level, we don't need something like that. Any number of intelligence and law enforcement agencies that are so redundant and overlap that so much is missed because you get this agency or that agency wants to do all the sexy stuff, and they say, oh well, this other department or agency over there they do that, so they'll handle all that stuff, and that they end up saying, well, the other department or other agencies doing that. And all this stuff that gets dropped. Think about 9/11 as an example. Okay, a catastrophic intelligence failure and defense failure for sure, but it was avoidable. But the fact that it happened is a direct result, not necessarily the bad actors for sure. They're to blame for sure. But at the same time, for missing so many markers along the way is because we had too much government, too much intelligence agencies, too many law enforcement agencies that weren't talking with one another, weren't communicating. So you had a system that was completely broken. And now you have a system that pretended to address all those issues by creating more government. But you've really not answered the problem or solved any of the issues. You just added more government, more bureaucracy on top of it. I think we need less of it. And if you get less government or the right size the federal government, you're going to get taxation at a level that mirrors what we should actually be paying anyway. So the less that we pay, the better. But I think we should fund the government that we need, nothing more. The long answer. Sorry.
Reasonable taxation, of course.
Right, reasonable taxation.
I agree. Yeah, I wouldn't mind paying taxes if I knew my taxes were going, as you described, for defense and things like that, and we're not being fleeced and
right
things, or going to studies for DEI or transgender studies, things that just go nowhere. They're just waste of money.
Yeah, go to support transgender dance in Pakistan. Like, are you kidding me? Because that's going to go over very well there. Come on, foolish, but stuff like that. I may be exaggerating on saying transgender dance in Pakistan, but not far off, right? Because there's stuff like that that's out there.
No, they were putting money off USAID for that for those
stuff like similar to the mating habits of the hermit crab in different environments. It's like, what's the point? Some stupid stuff like that.
Hey, in case they start going extinct, we'll know how to bring them back.
Yeah,
just the mere chance it might happen. So, how do you feel about grant money going towards studies for, say, like cancer research?
Well, here's the thing. I think that would be money in a private sector if they found the cure. But there's no money in actually finding cures, right? It's always in treating the a symptom or treating it on the periphery, but never really solving the problem, right? If you got away from these big pharmaceutical companies that have their fangs in our politics, I think you could probably solve a lot of the health crisis as well, because there would be less money involved in continue just to treat symptoms. There'd be more money involved in solving, or curing diseases, if you will. That's where we should put our focus on, not just allowing them to continue to make billions upon billions of dollars and just treating symptoms that a lot of times their drugs create anyway. So they have to create another drug to solve the symptoms that their drug created. What's the it's kind of funny that you create an industry that needs additional medication that they can provide to solve the problems that created by the symptoms.
So we fund their profitabilities.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
So we got Chris back. Hopefully, Chris, can you hear us?
Yeah, I was struggling mightily till a moment ago. I don't know if it switched towers, but I can hear you a bit better now. I was listening to John, but it was half broken up. Hey, folks, good evening. It's a pleasure to be back with you. I hope that we're having a good conversation tonight. What are we talking about now, John?
Well, we got on the issue of taxation. So while I was bringing up this HR 25 here in the 119th Congress, and Congressman Carter down there. How does he go by? Earl Carter. I can't remember his nickname, but he introduced this bill HR 25 to eliminate the IRS and introduce a national sales tax or a fair tax. So we were kind of going over, how we feel about taxes today. If we should have something like a fair tax, or should we stick with the same broken system we have now? And that's to you, Chris. Did we lose him?
John, you still there?
Oh, yeah. I thought we lost you for a second there. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I lost you for a second. If I got the gist of what you're saying, you're talking about Congressman Carter's proposal to eliminate the IRS and what that means taxation. Is that what you're talking about?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So, eliminate the IRS, get rid of all income tax, and create either, I believe it's a national sales tax, is what he's talking about creating as a fair tax. I think you're breaking up, Chris.
Are you there? Okay.
Yeah, we're here.
I said I'm not a big fan of the national sales tax or value-added tax. Some states already have a pretty onerous tax burden, like Washington State. It's like 10% sales tax or something like that. So you throw that on top, it's going to cripple the people that live up there. I much prefer a flat tax than everybody, and you can have exemptions for people below the poverty line. But a flat tax of 10% or something like that would suit me. I'd be much happier with that.
So what's a flat tax? How would you describe that?
Okay, well, it's basic. Everyone pays the exact same percentage. There's no exemptions. There's no deductions. There's no nothing. And, of course, the progressives will say, that's not fair. People live in poverty. How are they supposed to pay taxes? Well, then those people would have, you could phase it out. Under a certain dollar amount and a certain size family, you wouldn't pay any tax. And then after that, you pay 10%. That's just how it goes. That's the fairest thing out there. That's a fair tax, a flat tax. Every adult would pay that based on their income.
Yeah, but it's still an income tax.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what are we supposed to match? You run the government on pixie dust? We need national defense and the FAA to make sure planes don't run into each other like at Midway airports. Did you guys see that? The Southwest Airlines flight, the touch and go. Wow.
Yeah.
No, I missed that, but I did hear something about it. But
Absolutely. And it's funny as they try to blame that yet again on the Trump administration, whenever it was actually a communications error amongst the pilot who acknowledged what the air traffic controller said, but ignored it and went across the additional runway. So that was just the pilot error just on the ground. You can't blame the air traffic controller or the air traffic controller union or the Trump administration or anybody other than that individual pilot, made that mistake in the moment.
So I've been to airports, and you get, as a truck driver, when you have to cross out there,
yeah.
and you get an escort for a reason.
I've
You
been
can't
on
just
many
willy-nilly
tarmacs.
go running off any direction you want to go. because,
Many times on tarmacs. Yeah.
Oh God, man, I can't
Many
believe you'd do that. That's the worst thing he could have done.
Yep. Absolutely. And go ahead, Colonel.
No, I just, guys, I'm struggling mightily here. I don't know why. I think maybe the hamsters are running slowly there at the station, or maybe new to copper wiring. But I'm having a real hard time hearing you guys, and I know I've dropped off a few times, so I don't think I'm adding value at this stage. So I'm going to thank you for letting me call in and drop off, and I'll try to pick up and listen to the rest of the show on my phone as I drive home.
All right.
Good luck tonight, rest of the show, and thanks everybody for listening. Really appreciate your support for the program, and thanks, guys. I'll catch you later.
Sure thing, man. Have a safe
All
trip.
right. Colonel Chris White, first time caller there to the show. Long time listener, I think, right?
Yeah, that was funny.
All
yeah,
right.
that's true. He's never had to call him. You had to call him before, right?
I've had to call in a couple times, and I've been out traveling where I've done it remotely like this too, just out on the road. So.
Oh yeah, when you were in a motel room or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Over the time we've been doing this show, the past 4 years now, or something like that going on. I've only missed, I think, 3 shows where I've missed the entirety of a show. And there's like 1 or 2 other times when I missed a partial show. So maybe like 5 or 6 shows in total. I've missed any part thereof over the course of the time we've been doing the show.
Yeah, no, you've been very dedicated to it. So has Chris. I think
absolutely.
We all have.
Yeah.
I've been the same way, traveling or something, or I've been down to DC and just done it from a motel room or B&B and
right
off a laptop computer.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Holden said the NSA is messing with the Colonel's signal. Probably, yeah. Or the FBI helicopters are still following him. They're right above him. Colonel, don't look up. Just keep driving forward. If you're listening to us, Don't look up. It's in whisper mode. It's up there. It's a black helicopter. Just ignore it. It'll go away eventually.
In whisper mode, do they actually have that, or is that just kind of a
Well, it's a good,
Hollywood-esque sort of thing?
it's a good movie. We've talked about it a couple times here, but what is that movie? Conspiracy? I can't remember what it's called.
Oh, with Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson. Yeah. The black
Conspiracy
helicopter.
Theory, I think.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, like, he's telling the truth. There's black helicopters, and there's a full cabal of people. It's funny.
Yeah. No, I can't imagine how they're going to put a helicopter in whisper mode, because a lot of that sound is the blades themselves beating on the air atmosphere. I mean, how do you silence that?
Exactly. You don't. But it's the way. I don't know how the blades are directed or whatever. It's somehow. But some of these some of the technology that you reduce your lift. I'm not an expert on helicopters, but you've reduced your lift to a degree in doing something like that. But
so
I'm not an expert. So, but
the rotors on the helicopter, you can adjust the blade, the angle of the blade, and yeah, absolutely. And the more you torque it, the greater your lift. Of course, the speed of the blade too combined.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. It's you can adjust the blade, but let's face it, to get whisper quiet, you're not going to have much of a lift.
No. Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah. But yeah, these are helicopters that aren't sitting there just like pop, 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 pop. Yeah. It's marginally better, obviously. But
you go back to 1960s with the what were those ones they used in Vietnam? The Bell helicopters, right? I imagine the motors in them things were a lot louder, and they probably with the blades were echoing off the blades and things like that.
Right.
They probably learned to adjust the muffle better and adjust.
Sure. I'm sure that. Yeah. We're not giving away state secrets over here. For crying out loud. We're just
most of it's speculation anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, don't take our word for it. If you want to look it up, by all means, please.
Right.
Do.
But it is fun. The whole idea of the black helicopters are circling around. They're following you everywhere you go. I remember the movie Goodfellas. If you remember the movie Goodfellas, whatever, he was. He goes pick up his brother, and he's like, "Oh, you're just being paranoid. It's that dope. It's got you messed up." And it's like there's really an FBI helicopter following him around. And then sure enough, eventually they look up like, "Yep, there's a helicopter right above you."
He was totally unaware of it, huh?
No, he was aware of, but they were talking about, oh, it's because you're on drugs. Henry Hill, you're so high, you're imagining things, but in reality, yeah, they were following him. Of course, that's obviously a movie telling a story. That's just movie magic. Where the helicopter all of a sudden is there, but. Yeah, but it does bring to mind, people being followed by helicopters or aircraft and stuff like that, and they think that they're paranoid. It's like, no, it's really right there.
So a lot of it's psychology, right? So going back to the 1950s, they always talk about the FBI always gets its man and so on and so forth. And they used to put out this propaganda. And the concept was, let's put fear into people so they're less likely to commit crimes because they think it's impossible because the FBI always catches you if you commit a crime, right?
No.
People were more naive back in the day, and it worked.
Oh, sure.
Today, no. People. Like I said, information's at the reach of your fingertips, right there, and anything you want to know or need to know is pretty much there online. Some of it, you gotta question what you're reading, but
you gotta think about back in the day. With say you want to rob a bank or steal a lot of money, you had to do a lot of this in person. It required a lot of people. Nowadays, an internet connection and some decent computer skills, you can steal more money than Al Capone or any bank robber from the golden age of bank robbery. Doing the air quotes again, Ma and Paul, Ma Barker or whatever, and her gang. You're stealing more money with a stroke of a couple of keys than they could ever thought about.
So you go run. Well, they don't keep any money in the banks. Go run in there with your Tommy gun and shoot it up in the ceiling of the bank and say, "Give me all your money." It's like they start emptying out their wallets. We don't have money; it's all electronic.
Yeah, it's no real money here. Yeah, what are you talking about, guy?
You might have 20 grand or something. You actually keep at the bank anymore. It's not worth your while. Don't waste your time. You get a grand per year in prison or something. But
right, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, don't go rob banks in person. Don't rob them. Don't rob them, virtually either.
Banks have a heck of a security system. From my understanding, they have a rotation of passwords. It's like it changes every 60 seconds or 60 minutes or something like that.
Yeah,
they get it's automatic in the machine, and so the bank president or whatever is the only person who gets the password. And
yeah, but you think about this. We've created technology to protect us from old types of crime, if you will, or old ways our enemy maybe would try to infiltrate or hurt us, kill us, whatever, attack us, and we focus on all trying to prevent something like that, robbing the bank in person, and all of a sudden it's like all these other ways now to steal a lot more money, like we just talked about, than any of these bank robbers from the golden age of bank robbing, it could ever think of. Again, a couple keystrokes. but what are we doing to focus on that? You know what I mean? And then obviously we're always playing catch up, if you will. We're
Yeah.
always we're always reacting to what's the trend, what's the thing. And then eventually we lose the skill and ability to stop the things that we initially were, have gotten away from. Eventually people will go back to robbing banks in person because people would say, hey, to defeat people robbing, with a couple of keystrokes, we need to go back to having banks having money in person. And then people will go back to robbing them that way. So
Oh no, we're not going back, bro. They're going to digital currency. And it's
oh,
going to be a matter
eventually.
of. I don't get it, man, because I see like Dogecoin, right? Anybody can
Yeah.
make up digital currency. Why would you
Yeah,
make digital currency,
but
right?
I'm saying is to prove a point of how we forget how to do some of the most basic things. It's like,
Yeah.
well, people we aren't really robbing banks, so do we need to have a bank vault? We could just have a heavy steel door. Well, that's probably not a good idea. So then they're gonna know that they can blow the steel door off. It's like, so you got to be good on so many levels. That's what I'm saying. But do we need to focus on stuff that's just so antiquated? Like bank security from way back in the old days. We're not getting robbed that way anymore. Do we need to focus on that? The old way of doing business, and that's our government. That's kind of the point I was trying to make. Our government is, hey, we do all this stuff well. It's like, yeah, but that's from the 20th century. What about the 21st century? What about the problems we face today? What are we doing to solve those issues? I mean, sure, you can negate and mitigate problems of the past that we faced, but what about the issues that we face
Well,
nowadays?
I got to tell you, I did hear something come from Trump today that a lot of the computers that the government use are outdated.
Oh, big time.
It's like, wait a minute, we don't have updated computers. No wonder why we're being hacked left and right. We don't even update our computers. That means we're probably not updating security systems. I don't know how they operate, especially in today's times with all this computer technology. Because I guarantee them hackers got some updated computers, man. They build theirs. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yep, absolutely. And the thing is you don't want to put your major networks, over just the internet where anybody could be able to hack in there. You want it as closed off as possible. That's where you make your mistakes right there. Having a backdoor or an ability to get into a classified system from an unclassified network. That's the issues there.
I think some of the most common mistakes people make are human error. And
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time.
for a
Yeah.
lot of these hackers, sometimes it's a matter of making a phone call and feeling somebody out or going on their social media account and
Right. Oh, yeah.
seeing, oh, this is their daughter's birthday. They're wishing their daughter happy birthday today. I got that. Let me go back and see if they used that. Oh, yeah, look, they were dumb enough.
Right, right.
And
It
stupid
happens.
stuff like that. Yeah. And you get these people, man. I get a message from somebody. Hey, I got out of my Facebook account. So you're my backup person. I'm going to send it to you. They're going to get a code and please forward it to me so I can get into my account. Right.
Right.
Yeah. I wasn't born at night, let alone last night, pal. Get out of here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But I've had friends of family and the family, older guys and gals talk about like what their passwords are, and it's like, yeah, that's exactly the password people would look for. It's your initials and your granddaughter's birthday. That'd be one they would try, and it's like that's their password. To stuff.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
It
And
was-
use the same one for all 15,000 accounts.
right, and they think, well, I'm making it easier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
you are
themselves.
you're making it easier to get into, but you're making it easier for other people to get into.
Yeah. There's some people working for these, Lockheed Martin and stuff like that, these
Sure.
defense contractors.
Yeah.
They get a password every week. And it's not, they're not allowed to store it. They have to memorize it. It's long and it's a matter of numbers and symbols and words
Right,
and
right.
letters and stuff. And so yeah, that's some of these companies take this stuff seriously.
Yeah, as they should.
I don't know what happens when you get yourself locked out because you forgot the configuration of your password they gave you, but must be a heck of a feat for dedicating this to memory. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I remember I've been assigned over the years different digital codes or whatever, and it's like, you push a button or whatever, or every so often it'll update, and that's the password that you use to get on that network. And it's like, I remember having a number of those and like never using it, not maybe once or twice ever to get on the particular network.
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
you had to have it.
and you had to have it. Yeah. It's like, oh, you got to have this to be able to do this job. And it's like, well, what if I can't get a signal? What if the code's no longer updated or whatever? But it's one of those things. So, but yeah, I mean, but you think about all the technology that we bring to bear to make our lives better. we end up, creating problems for ourselves that, yes, we solved that initial problem, but we end up creating more problems, instead of using technology for the betterment of our society, to bring ourselves closer, to be able to talk and discuss issues. What is social media used for? I mean, let's look at it. Hate, vile, disgusting stuff, or to people to present a fake version of themselves that doesn't exist in reality,
Mm.
This is what we're using
Some
our
ways
tech.
that pays off. I mean, I've seen guys that were famous, and
Sure,
so
yeah.
they create a fake account, right? They, don't tell anybody it's my fake account, man, because this is where I cut up and I act like a normal human being. I can't do that as myself.
Oh
So
yeah, no, I get that, but I'm talking about most people put themselves on a pedestal that they're not really on. You know what I mean?
the pretentious types that
Pretentious types, yeah, it's the socialites or the political world is, nowadays it's rife with that, CPAC, they just had CPAC. Go to CPAC, and a lot of good people, a lot of people that you probably wouldn't see on the big news networks or whatever. But then you get a lot of those people that are, that are trying to make a name for themselves, or just, you know, probably shouldn't be allowed to actually make a name for themselves, but somehow they'll be able to climb up, and there'll be somebody in the next several years that people will listen to and want to follow because they didn't shut up. You know what I'm saying? So it's up for us as the individual to discern that. You know what I'm saying?
I had a friend that he used to do that. He used to build himself up to be larger than life. The
Yeah.
way he talked about himself, the way he posted things, a lot of it was lies and fictitious.
Of course.
And after a while, people caught on, and it really backfired on him bad. But it
Yeah.
worked for a while. It was great marketing strategies for a while.
Yeah.
Until some people took up issue with him and then started pointing out things, and all of a sudden people didn't like him anymore because that's what he did.
Yeah. Well, in the political world, it's big with that. People will go to any number of events, and it's always taking the million photos with everybody. And it's like, just as soon as they need the photos, they'll put it out there. Oh, glad to see so and so is confirmed. My friend so and so is now this or that. And it's like, oh, got a phone
Sorry
call
about
there.
that. Yeah, I get these telemarketing calls all the time. Don't answer the phone unless I know who's calling. I just don't want to deal with it anymore.
There you go, John. But yeah, hopefully the Colonel's making a good time getting back home. I'd love to see his interviews and see who he did talk to down there, and just kind of get some insight as to what was discussed. Kind of, and this helps me kind of know some things that are going on maybe inside the Beltway in one way or another. It kind of keeps my finger on the pulse of what's going on. So that way, if I need to use it in the future, hey, this is what I heard. This is what I know, right?
Well, at the beginning of the show, I was hearing that we were going to have an inside man, and you just burst my bubble by going, but I can't tell you what's going on ahead of time.
Right.
They want my inside man.
Yeah, there you go. All right. But it'd be interesting to see who is going to get that position as far as ambassador is concerned. Um, who knows?
Yeah, you never get to hear who's up for. I mean, who applied, or you don't hear anything about who's up for consideration. It would be nice to know who is up for consideration on that. And Chris did say he applied. You never know; they might be looking at him right now, going, "Hey, this looks like a really good qualified candidate. Look at this; he spends a lot of time down there, and a lot of people know who he is."
Right, right. Well, here's another thing that you think about. Let's say he's not vetted for that position, but he looks good enough on paper that they kind of put him on a different file, or pile, if you will, and say, hey, why don't we, instead of maybe getting into this position, let's look for something else. Maybe it's an advisor position, or maybe it's somewhere else along the way, whether it's in the intel community or at State Department, wherever. They may find something, so you apply for one or two things, they may find some different position for you, though. That happens. So
You got a point. I mean, there was this character named Raising Cain, and I guess that's his real name. Trump tells a story about this. He meets this guy, and I don't think he was right now. I guess he's a general in the United States Army, and he's an advisor to Trump. But when Trump first met him, he was much lower rank, and Trump's like, well, he was back when Trump was taking care of the Mideast issues in Afghanistan and stuff, and he pretty much looks and says, why does it take so long? Why they tell me it's going to take years? And the kid's like, we can do this in a couple of weeks, sir. And he gives them a strategy plan. He goes, well, why don't they tell me this? Did you tell them this? He goes, they don't care what I have to say, sir. I'm not ranked to care about what I have to say. He says, you're the only person that ever asked, so I'm telling you. And so I guess Trump took a big interest in him, and he really loved his name, Raising Cain. So I mean, he wasn't somebody that you would look at and go, he's qualified for this until he spoke up. And all of a sudden now he's one of Trump's best guys.
Yep. There you go. Absolutely. So, and that's what it takes sometimes, it's a matter of being in the right place and having that right person hear what you have to say, or, whenever you have an opportunity to say something, to say it. I've heard people do this for years. They'll say, well, if I ever get a chance to, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. And it's like they're put in the position, and all of a sudden they freeze up, or they don't follow through. It's the movie. I don't know if you ever seen the movie Frost Nixon. It's about the David Frost, who interviewed Richard Nixon post presidency back in the mid 70s, late 70s. With regards to Watergate and other things, and basically trying to get him to admit, the whole Watergate cover up, conspiracy, all this stuff. But there's a guy that's on the David Frost team. He does his research for him. And he's talking a big game just before the president, former President Nixon's about to walk in the room. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to shake his hand. He thinks I'm going to shake his hand. I'm going to give him the time of day. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this. President walks in the room, standing right in front of him, puts his hand out. He just looks at him and is like, Mr. President. And then like the guy, the other guy, the other guy goes, wow, you really showed him. You really told him what you thought of him. And he's like, shut up, but that's really what people do. They talk a big game and all of a sudden they're put in that situation and they clam up. It's like, if you're put in that situation to say something, have your facts straight, lay it out there. And the person will more than likely, if they're a person of integrity or worth their salt, they're going to respect that. And they're going to admit that, hey, you're right. You have a point. And they're probably at some point, whenever they're in a position to bring you along, may remember you and bring you along, like President Trump seems to have done with this person.
Yeah.
Don't clam up. Say what you got to say. Be respectful, by all means. Like whenever we had, back in the day, people, let's say the muckety mucks, as you would call it, whether it's a flag officer, whether it's your colonel, whether it's the Secretary of the Army, or, an elected official coming, a congressional delegation, they're always tell you, if you're asked a question, you can answer it by all means, but don't make a fool of yourself. Don't make a fool of everybody by showing off. Don't be an ass about it. You know what I mean? But if you have the opportunity to say something, be respectful, say what you have to say, and leave it at that.
It reminds me of a fight, like boxing and such. And you got the loudmouth over there. I'm going to take him down. He's just got everything to say until he gets in the ring and has no action.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. People do that, man. It's all they got is words. Words don't mean anything when you're swinging.
As the old saying goes, everybody's a tough guy till they get punched in the mouth, right? I think Mike Tyson said that before, right? Yeah, everybody's a tough guy. Everybody has a plan till they're punched in the mouth. Like think about it. Every general that's ever gone to war has a battle plan until they get troops into contact, and all of a sudden it's like, how well thought out is that plan? How much of it's going to go out the window, and how much of it do you actually need?
Yeah,
it goes back to government. How much do you actually need? You should say, oh, we justify you need all this and this and this, till all of a sudden it's like, we don't have any money. How much government do we actually need? Oh, we can cut this, and this, and we can cut all this right here. All of a sudden, you're going to find out how much government you really don't need that you're getting.
I see Chris has made an impact here in chats and stuff. With Holden's calling it Afro Forum. I assume it means African Forum. Combined words. And it says, sounds like it's a state version of the super PAC, or a United States version of a super PAC. Well, Chris did say that they had met with the president. And so it sounds to me like there are a form of people in Africa that have met with the president. They're trying to get some things moving in Africa, which sounds kind of nice to me. I'm looking forward. Tomorrow I'll be driving my truck and I'll be listening, looking for Chris to pop up that he went live. So
right.
Hit the button and listen to what he has to say, because I always thought the United States fell a little short in Africa in certain regards. Our relations don't seem like they're that strong, like they are with European nations, allied nations and stuff in Europe. And I also felt that way about South America, but there's a lot of communism and stuff down there. So it's kind of hard to exactly relate to people who just aren't relatable. But it sounds to me like things are getting organized in Africa, and it'd be nice that we have some sort of great rapport with them,
Right.
Coming up. And I know China's done it 3 years. They've been developing in Africa. And I think it'd be a shame if we let China take over the African nations, and the United States just idly sits back and watches it grow there,
Right, absolutely. We certainly need to be assertive, but at the same time, we can do it without doling out billions upon billions of dollars or trillions of dollars at this point, and pretending that's going to buy some loyalty. Because bill diplomacy only gets you so far, and whenever your economy starts to go south or inflation or whatever reason why you can't keep throwing the millions or billions of dollars at a country, they're going to look elsewhere. And of course, China's been able to do that for a number of decades as they've risen in our slipstream, if you will. We
That's
provided, yeah,
it.
we provided the security with the avenues of, for commerce and trade, if you will, in the high seas for decades, kind of like the British Empire did for decades, and where other nations were able to rise up because of that reason. We've done that for a lot of the developing nation, and now all of a sudden we're being pushed out of the picture.
No, Holden says things are not stable in Africa. We understand that, brother. And
No,
that's
no, no.
what
Oh,
we're saying.
absolutely.
We would like to see relationships strengthen here with the United States and
Right,
African nations
and be able
bring
to,
stability
right.
back into Africa.
Right. Solid relationships can breed stability. It's just a matter of, how much are we willing to commit and for what reasons? And I think this should be for the right reasons. Humanitarian aid is a good reason, but you can't sit there and throw humanitarian aid at something indefinitely.
You can't buy friends.
No,
And
no,
that's
you can't.
That's where we made our mistakes in the past is we're trying to throw money at people for favors and stuff.
Right. Yeah, we
it's
can't
not
buy it.
working. Here we create an imbalance in our economy by
Right.
eliminating our tariffs and allowing China to walk in and take over our economic strengths
Yeah.
and develop their own economic strengths off our backs, and then turn around and develop one of the strongest nations in the globe or militaries in the globe and be threatening about it. This is ridiculous. We made China strong and they got no love for us. Why are we doing this? Why do this?
Right. Yeah, and of course their ideology, communism is diametrically opposed to our ideology, our political ideology, and of course our the way we do commerce in the world. Of course, it's completely, I don't want to say it's completely different than how they do business. Of course, they're more of a strong arm, if you will, whereas hey, this is in our best interest, is in your best interest. Let's do a deal. We're not coming behind them with some sort of strong arm threat of violence behind the scenes. We're not going to do that. I hope not.
Yeah, Holden's talking about how many stories of tragedy he reads from South Africa and
Right.
On a daily basis. And I've heard some of these horrific stories that go on in South Africa, and I'm astounded to believe this is allowed to go on. I'm astounded to believe that there's not some sort of uprising to stop and prevent this from happening. I don't know, the dynamics in South Africa the way Chris does. So I'm just saying I'm astonished, but there's got to be reasons why there's not, why things aren't changing or getting better.
Yeah.
It's probably politics like what we see, related to like Chicago, and it's probably politics like we see in Chicago. It's too much liberalistic ideas in favor. Talk about freedoms, but favoring one group of people over the rest.
Right.
And creating that imbalance. That's not what freedom's all about. That's not, our rights are meant for everybody, as we described earlier. And you're not going to make things right by creating a balance of rights and saying, well, because the demographics of this, we got to do this for this group and crap all over this other group or take from this other group for the benefit of this group. That's not how things are supposed to work. And I know Africa or South Africa through the years have had a lot of problems regarding those types of matters.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and of course, the what do you call it? The colonial era did South Africa dirty for many, many, many generations, for sure.
Yeah. It takes a lot of generations to break hatred or
Yeah, but at this point, they can't really blame colonial powers. This is now internal strife. What they're dealing with there for the most part.
It is. I mean, we seen it here, didn't we? Did we not see it here with BLM?
Sure.
Was BLM about fairness, or was BLM about skills in favor for a certain demographic group of people?
Right.
And
right.
when I heard them speak, I heard the latter. I didn't hear the prior.
Right. You think about it, it's the misnomer. It's like Black Lives Matter. Absolutely, Black Lives Matter for sure. We're talking about human beings. But if you're talking about your organization mattering, no, your organization doesn't matter because it doesn't actually stick up for actual Black human beings. Not in the least. It's pushing a flawed, destructive, and evil ideology that's disguised as looking out for Black lives, and it's not doing that at all. Made a few people very rich, though.
Oh yeah. I think they might be under the microscope. Wasn't there some issue going on with those two recently?
Yep. And they should be under investigation. They should go to prison for sure. And just to show that, hey, they didn't really care too much about Black people in any at all.
No, they didn't. Well, it's like he says there, stories are the same no matter where you go, rape, murder, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's a disregard for human life. That, you know, that's what it comes down to. People that put materialistic items before human beings have just, well, they're lacking that moral compass that we all need. I mean,
Yep.
somebody once asked, real quickly, because we're running out of time, but somebody once asked, why do we need to get God back into this country? We need the morals and standards that the Christian values bring. We need the morals and standards that God brings. When we remove God from the country, we remove our religious ideas from the country, we lose our moral compass. I mean, that's what the whole premise of it was about, was to create a construct of well, that's what they well, that's it, people. What they call the super ego. That's our show for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you got something out of it. As always, be good. If you can't be good, we'll be good at it, and we're gone.